This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. We're live on Roku. Oh, no, we're not live on Roku. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Twitter. We're live on YouTube. We're live some other places. Catch us on Roku at 12 or let your friends know. And again, you can catch us on all the podcast sites across the landscape, iHeartRadio, all of those. Not going to list them all today. Thanks to the groups that let me share the show. We've had some great reception recently, guys. Awesome stuff. Really excited about the reception to the show and some of the groups that have really started participating. Good morning, Kenny Gifford. Good to see you this morning. You get the first good morning. Are we in the last Sunday of, where are we? Last Sunday of April? Or we got one more? Last Sunday of April. Wow, April went fast, didn't it? Maybe my backyard will dry out by the Memorial Day. Good grief. Good morning, Alan. Good to see you this morning. Our resident Oklahoma Big 12 Cowboy fan. Bears fan. Cubs fan, I guess. Sorry. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff today, guys. We got Jim Beringer coming on to update us on the world of hockey this morning. We'll talk about his power rankings. We'll talk about the playoff push. We'll talk about the two greats in a game that we lost here in a week's time, and Guy Lafleur for the Montreal Canadiens and Mike Bossy from the New York Islanders. Two really legends of the game in my mind, obviously. We'll talk also a little bit about the NHL, talking about expanding the playoffs and some other things. Major League Baseball, we'll get into Miguel Cabrera, only the seventh player all time to reach 3,000 hits and 500 home runs. And it's going to be a long while before somebody else hits 3,000 hits. We'll talk about that again today, if ever, by the way, if ever. We'll look at the standings and the power rankings a little bit, maybe some questions. Maybe we'll look at an early look at some managers that may be on the hot seat. We'll talk about the Yankees fans' atrocious behavior yesterday. Absolutely ridiculous. Michael Conforto out for the year. Lots of other things. Maybe we'll even jump into the NBA a little bit. NFL, we'll talk a little bit of draft. We'll talk a little. We'll just have some news, some odds and ends, and we'll certainly jump into your guys' comments as well. So we'll have Jim Beringer here in a few minutes. Let me get a few more good mornings out here. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. Good to have you with us here this morning. The Mad New Yorker, Carlos Chavez. Good morning to you, Carlos. Michael Conforto first. I don't think it's the biggest news. We will touch on that later. Michael Conforto is out for the year, having surgery, never signed. We'll talk about whether he may have cost himself about $100 million. We'll see how that all works out. Hockey legends, rest in peace. Absolutely. Guy Lafleur and Mike Bossy, two of the greats in the game. And Mike Bossy, if you're a hockey fan in the New York area, tremendous player. Alan just took a huge step up, thought he was a Texan, and now I find out he's an Hokie. Well, there you go, Alan. You've moved up in Kenny's eyes. He's just a Cowboy fan because there's no professional teams. And, you got the Oklahoma. Why is the Oklahoma basketball team escaping me now, Alan? Good grief. Oh, my God. Terrible to be me. Two highlights, Celtics and Nestor Cortez. I'm telling you, what a great job. Celtics, I thought the Nets would give them a series. And, Steve Nash, who I really defended last year, is getting outcoached badly in this series, and the Mets are undermanned. Let's face it. We'll get into a little of that later, maybe. Conforto couldn't get that moolah. Conforto should have taken $120 million contract that the Mets put out for him, and he'd be much better off, obviously. And we'll certainly dive into that a little bit. Thunder, thank you. Jeez, good grief. Thank you, both for Alan and everybody. I got all my Thunder fans here. Oh, they do have a D-League team as well. Well, there you go. I mean, geez. So does Westchester County in New York. Oh, I don't mean to disparage them, Alan. What else? Well, so we'll jump into a lot of that. The hockey, listen, a lot of good stuff going on, and we're getting to, I think, 3 or 4 games left in the standings. A lot of the playoffs pictures locked in. The Western Conference still has some questions. The East is kind of jockeying for position. We'll talk about what we need to look forward to as we start these NHL hockey series, and we'll probably have, once we get started with the NHL playoffs, we'll probably have Jim Beringer. Jim Beringer, by the way, from The Last Word on Hockey on Mad Radio, and also Full Press Hockey is where he writes his articles now for. Great stuff, guys. And I do share his articles as he sends them to me. So if you haven't checked them out, check out TGI Sports Talk, and you can get them. Rick is starting already with the Thunder R&D League team. You're going to take it rough today, Alan. I'm going to tell you right now. Judge showed he's a good person, sticking up for the Cleveland players. Absolutely. Look, there's nobody. And I'll talk about this for a few minutes until Jim comes in. There is zero reason for that type of behavior. I talked about it last year when this was going on. A lot of this was going on during the NBA playoffs, and players were getting spit on and food thrown on them, and players' families were being bombarded with racial epithets. You know what? I've said this 100 times. Just because you paid to get into a game, you don't have a right to act as an ass any way you want. And we do have a social contract in general in this. We should, in life, have a social contract just to treat people with respect. And it's going downhill fast, guys. Whether you're driving in the highway, whether you're in the grocery store, whether you're at a ball game, people just do not treat each other as they should. And it's really sad. Dodgers AAA squad is in Oklahoma. I thought they were in It's funny. I thought they were up north, but I guess they moved. Sometimes my mind goes back 20 or 30 years without me even knowing it. My screen's a little high. I just need one click. Thank you. Oh, sorry for the little bounce there, guys. Whoops. Hold on. The old Sonics team is not the elite team. Oh, gosh. What else we got? Agree with Keith, but stay off the fence, you idiot. Well, I don't know. Look, he's on the fence. He's on the field of play. I am not going to anyway say the Cleveland players caused this. And I don't care if they're fans in New York or if they're fans in Oklahoma City or Dallas or Miami. Act like you're a freaking adult or stay home. Stay home. I think he was calling me an idiot, Kenny. Just kidding. Used to have. That's what I thought. I thought the Rangers AAA squad was in Oklahoma City. Good stuff. So anyway, we'll have Jim Beringer here in a second to chat about the hockey. We'll have a lot of other stuff to talk about. Yeah, let me the fans. I don't want to belabor the point. I mean, I did a vlog on this last year, and if I got to do another one, I will. And it won't be as pretty as last year. And that one wasn't pretty either. I don't know. Who knows? What else is going on? Listen, the draft's coming up, by the way. We'll talk about the NFL draft. We did our mock draft on Friday. I did a pick, and I'll share the show. I did my Patriots pick on the Mac and Jack show today. And I got beat up pretty good by former NFL great with the Cowboys, Jim Jeffcoat, who I'm sure Alan is very familiar with. He's a regular co-host on the Mac and Jack Sunday show. And I go on from 8:10 to 8:25 or so with them every Sunday morning. Today I was making my Patriots pick, and it was part of their job to rip my pick. And I picked Nakobe Dean, who I like a lot. He's undersized, but I do like him a lot. And I think he fits what the Patriots want to do with speed and quickness on defense. Does he help their run defense? Maybe not. But I do think they'll do some other things to address that going forward. And do not forget, Thursday night, 7:30. I think I've been saying 7 o'clock. 7:30 p.m. We will be on live to cover the entire first round of the NFL draft. And we'll have Mac and Jack will be hosting that show live on Northeast Streaming Sports. And I'll be co-hosting as well as Robert Butler from Sports Hopes. And we'll be live on, I don't know yet. I'm trying to get an answer from Mac if we're live on Roku that night or not, but we'll be live on Northeast Streaming Sports, and I'll be sharing it to my page, and we'll be on YouTube and Twitter and all of that as well. Real quick, I'll get Jim in here in just a second. I'll catch up a couple of comments. Hockey, all I know is some guys scored another 50 goals. Oh, watched Jim's shows yesterday. He does a good job breaking down hockey. Yes, you've got a new fan for sure in Rick Sherlock, Jim, and I do agree with him wholeheartedly. Patriots need help on all levels. Well, we know that, but we will talk more about that as we go on. Today, I want to bring in now, as I said, from Full Press Hockey, one of their top writers in my mind, and his own show, The Last Word on Hockey on Mad Radio Network. One Jim Beringer. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, Keith. How we doing, bud? How you doing today?
I am doing fabulous. Hope you are. We're obviously coming down to the wire here. I think, 3-4 games left, depending on the teams in the regular season?
That's it. Final week of the regular season's counting down. Playoffs begin next week. And, we're getting down to the nitty and the gritty. The Western Conference is still pretty wild and starting to get settled in a little bit for who we need, who are going to finally be the 8 teams. But the East is pretty much locked up, except who's going to get home ice in the first round.
Yeah, we got a couple of jockeying for position there, right?
Nothing crazy. Though. I mean, look, I think the Rangers are probably locked in, either 1 or 2 in the Metro. Yeah. Florida's the top seed in the Atlantic. It's just who's going to get home ice between Toronto and Tampa.
Yeah, and the Western Conference, as you said, I mean, there's a couple teams that have locked it up, but there's definitely some volatility with the last couple of entries here in both the Central and the Pacific, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the Pacific is pretty much the Pacific Division is going to have more of a picture in this week because the LA Kings have riled off three wins in a row after a losing streak, but their schedule is pretty favorable. No schedule is really favorable unless you get the wins that are when you play weaker teams, and they're doing that to beat Anaheim twice, to beat Chicago. So they picked up some points, some needed points in the Pacific. They're up to 96, so they're getting close to that magic number where they'll clinch third spot in the Pacific Division. Edmonton's got home ice in the first round. Calgary's locked up the division, but we're really looking at the 2 wild cards in the Western Conference. It's with Dallas, Nashville, Vancouver, and Vegas. Vancouver is still alive, but the loss against Calgary last night definitely doesn't do anything. Helped them. They needed to win out, so I think it's going to be closing time for the Canucks soon. Vegas is just interesting because, they're right there, but Dallas picked up a much-needed victory against Seattle. So it's just interesting to watch. And we know in the Central Division, we know St. Louis and Minnesota is going to match up, but we just don't know who's going to get home ice yet.
Excellent. And speaking of St. Louis, I mean, they were a big mover in this week's power rankings for you, moving up, I want to say, like 5 spots. Is that right?
I think maybe a little bit more than that. I think 6 spots, 6 spots. Yeah, they're in the top 10. Could have been top 5 for me, but I like the way that their team is playing. I think Tarasenko's just been on fire for this team. Ville Husso in between the pipes. I like this team. They remind me of the 2019 team that won the Stanley Cup. Just 4 solid lines, playing well, good defensively. Justin Falk back there looks really good. Same with Torrey Krug. Craig Berube's got this team playing a great system. Beginning of the year, Tarasenko didn't want to be there, but now he's found his groove as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this team progresses. I like this team entering the playoffs. Yesterday we're talking about, Colorado should walk, into the conference final. I don't think so. I mean, this is a team if St. Louis could get by Minnesota in the first round, which I think they can, they're going to give Colorado a lot run for their money. And I don't know if they're going to get upset in the first round, but it's all about matchups. And I think Colorado should be fine, but it's not going to be easy task against St. Louis.
Yeah, and it's interesting with the Blues, as you said. You look at the records. I mean, the Blues, I think, have the fourth best record in the West only.
Yeah.
But it's not so much your record as how you're playing as you get into the Stanley Cup, right? So
yeah, exactly.
And momentum is everything. With that said, I mean, well, before I get away from your power rankings a little bit, I want to chat a little bit too about the Lightning, who have really they continue to dive down your rankings. It wasn't too long ago they were in the top 3.
Yeah.
And they've fallen all the way to, I think, to 11, right? What
yeah,
the defending champions as we head into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they're not playing the greatest. I mean, they got a nice win over Nashville. It's just, I think for them, I think it's just trying to figure out what best line combinations work for them going into the playoffs. Like, they're still the defending champions, but you can see that this team is tired. It has played a lot of hockey over the last 2 years. I mean, you go deep runs in the Stanley Cup final, each year. You go 7 games in a conference final. They've been to conference final, I think, like 5 of the last 7 years too. That's a lot of hockey on the body. And look, Brandon Hagel, Nick Paul fit in really well with this team. Hagel just has to get adjusted playing third line because he was playing second line minutes in Chicago. He's playing a different role right now. But I still like, when the playoffs come, the records go out the window. So if they match up against Toronto, which most likely they will, you still got to favor the champs because they've done it before and Toronto hasn't done it. So, I mean, yes, they beat Toronto 8-1. Toronto beat them 6-2. I mean, like, it's coming down the stretch stuff. I think a lot of guys are just going through motions right now, just trying not to get injured because we know what the matchups are. We knew it for a while, but it'll be interesting because I think Tampa would be slightly favored in that series against Toronto, even though, Toronto may have home ice.
Another team that's plummeted in your rankings is the Bruins. So what are your thoughts on the Bruins? And then I got a Penguins question after that.
My thoughts are is I think the same thing. I think they're starting to play a little bit better, but at the time, the injuries to Pasternak, Lindholm, that doesn't help. DeBrusk slowed down a little bit on that top line, but their depth was missing with Pasternak out of the lineup. That gave them, they made the move by breaking up that top line, and then they moved him down to the second line with Hala and Hall. That gave him a little bit more depth there with Charlie Coyle on the third line, which was perfect. But I think they're just missing, they started playing that physical style again. But now with Pasternak back in the lineup, picked up his 500 point. This team is starting to get back to playing Bruins hockey. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think all 8 teams have the potential to be over 100 points come the start of Stanley Cup playoffs. It's ridiculous. Like, I have not seen that ever in the expansion era since I've been watching. It's really incredible, how good these teams are. But I think Boston's going to have I think Boston may have a little difficulty no matter who they match up. Though, personally, if they match up against like Florida or somebody, I think I would take the Bruins because I'm not sold on Florida winning a first round series just yet.
Even as hot as they are, 13 in a row they won, right?
I don't care. 13 in a row in the regular season, 11 in a row at home. I know they have a good home record, but they haven't won a playoff series since 1996.
Well, that's more important track record probably than these 13 wins for sure.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on the Penguins, as Alan is asking here? And I think there was a follow-up to that. The Penguins are in the dangers list. Orcas keep it. I think Kenny's been imbibing this morning already, but not imbibing, but the other thing.
I think, for me, I think the Penguins have they're going to have a little difficulty in the first round. It's all well and good. You make these playoff appearances. They're going to get knocked out in the first round again, no matter who they play. Either it's Carolina or it's the New York Rangers, who seem to beat them all the time now. Their goaltending is not good. Look, yeah, they beat Detroit 7-2. They beat them 18-4 over the last 2 meetings. I mean, Detroit's just not a good hockey team. I've never been sold on Tristan Jarry as a goalie. He's hurt right now. They're relying on Casey DeSmith. Malkin, yeah, he's back from his suspension, but he's got a temper that could hurt this Penguins team in playoff games. We saw it in years past, especially against the Islanders. I don't think they have the team that can go far this year. I just think I think they're just going to be a one and done team this year. I think out of all, and they potentially could get past. They could be in a wild card with Washington the way Washington's been playing. So it's not sold that the Penguins and Rangers are going to match up. If they do, yeah, I still favor the Rangers. I think that I would favor them over Washington too. But I think the Penguins right now. I always thought Washington was the weakest team in the Eastern Conference out of 8 teams. I'm rethinking that, and I think it's Pittsburgh.
When do the playoffs actually start? Do you have it start? What's the start date?
May 2nd.
May 2nd. Okay, so next week we can talk a little bit about I'll have you in. We'll talk a little bit about the matchups once they're finalized, because that'll be May 2nd, won't it? No, that'll be May 1st. That'll be May 1st.
Yeah. But they start Monday.
Yeah, perfect. So that'll work out perfect. Listen, while we're on the Stanley Cup playoffs, I found an article yesterday on ESPN, and now I can't find it, but there's conversation about the playoffs should be expanded. No. I can't believe anybody be in favor of this. Aren't there enough teams now? Too many?
There's 16 teams now.
Yeah.
Look, the play-in tournament, the bubble tournament, when they had the play-in round, best of 5, it was fine because they needed to expand, add the teams in. They did it. Like, I don't want to hear from anybody it wasn't done for TV purposes to get the Rangers, Montreal, and Chicago in.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's like, oh, no. I'm like, buddy, it was because if New Jersey, Buffalo, and another team that if you did it on points percentage or in the same situation, I guarantee you it was just going to be 16 teams. Because it was the original 6, they wanted them in. I don't want to expand the playoffs. I think what we're getting now with these games, it's like expand. I use the same argument with college football when they want to expand the playoffs.
Oh, sorry.
You have meaningful games right now going on. Do I want to diminish these playoff races right now that are happening? Does Vancouver or Vegas deserve to be in the playoffs in a play-in round? If you look in the Eastern Conference, the teams are separated, I believe, by more than 10 points between the Islanders and Columbus and Washington and Boston. Yeah. Like, why would I want the Islanders and Columbus in a play-in round right now?
Well, it seems like they're trying to adopt the NBA model, which I think is stupid as well there. I mean, why are those, like you said, if you can't play well enough to get into the top 8 seeds, why are you getting it at all?
Right, exactly. Like, why are you getting in at all? And all those playing games were all blowouts, if I remember from the NBA, right?
Yeah, it's not good basketball, and it's just, again, to get more games on TV and
it's more money, it's more revenue. I get it, but I think 16 teams out of 32 that's half the league gets in.
What else? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said that's half the league. Like, why wouldn't you want more? Why would you want more teams in? I mean, you already have half the league in, and you're.
Games, you get in the top 8. I mean, isn't that enough?
I mean, I understand. It's like, oh, well, the East was already settled in October. Well, that's nobody's fault. I mean, they're just better than everybody else.
Yeah, those teams then that would have been in a play-in series and should have played better in October, I guess.
Well, I mean, look, it's no one's fault that the Islanders had to deal with COVID, had to deal with losses of legends, had to deal with being on the road to begin the season, 13 straight games. Yes, they played better in March after the deadline, but it was too little, too late. Everything was just going against them. Plus, they played a lot of hockey this year, these past 2 years. The biggest problem for me is for the New York Islanders is they need goal scoring and they need to get younger. They can't get older, and Lou's falling in the same trap he did when he was at the tail end of his career with the Devils. Oh, it's like, this team's just good enough to get in. I just need to add a veteran here and there. No, you need to look to rebuild this team and get younger so you can have long playoff runs like you've had over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's switching. And again, I hope they don't go to this because I don't know. MLB expand their playoffs. Stupid. There's already too many teams. Look, I don't know why we're playing all these games if we're just going to let everybody in. Let's just play one.
It's like my point with March Madness. We love March Madness, but the regular season doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it a little different there because, again, we're playing a tournament. We're not playing, whatever.
Right. I mean, it's one and done, but still, like, why?
Yeah.
Why do why do these regular season games matter then? Like, am I gonna watch it? Yeah, it's
Well,
cool.
they should reward the regular season winners as
Yeah.
the automatic bids in my mind, and then go from there. But
Yeah.
that's a different topic. Let me switch
Right.
to one that's not quite as happy, and it's one that it's unfortunate we have to talk about both these guys at the same time because they were great players and they deserve the spotlight to themselves when their ultimate passing comes. But we recently lost two of the greats, legends in the game in my mind, both of them obviously, in Guy Lafleur and Mike Bossy from the Islanders. Give me some of your reflections on these two guys in their careers, and I know they're a little before your time, but I know your knowledge of hockey, you certainly know much about both of these players.
I caught the back end of both of their careers, but let me tell you something. What I read up on and what I've seen, two of the best players that ever played a game. Mike Bossy was the best pure goal scorer in the game.
Maybe ever.
I mean, Alex
Yeah.
Ovechkin is probably pushing that conversation, and I think it was Ken who said another guy scored 50 goals. Well, Alex Ovechkin just recorded his 9th 50-goal season, tying Wayne Gretzky and the legendary Mike Bossy for most 50-goal seasons. Think about that. Mike Bossy did 50 and 50. With the and so did Austin Matthews did 50 and 50, but Bossy was just a legend. He was exactly what the Islanders needed to go on those 4 straight Stanley Cups, that goal scoring. They had everything else, and then they drafted that kid. And the rest is history. Bossy was a perfect fit for the Islanders. He embraced it. He loved being an Islander. It's a shame, we lost him at 65, and then Guy Lafleur, we just lost on Friday. The Flower, obviously state funeral for these Canadian players, but an architect of the 5 cups in the 70s. He was just unbelievable skater. One of the only guys I can recall ever getting a standing ovation wearing a visiting jersey at the Montreal Forum. That's how beloved that guy was in Montreal. They didn't want him to go. He was just perfect for those teams. I mean, those dynasty Canadian teams, obviously had a lot of shoes to fill, but man, Guy Lafleur was one of the best. The Flower, always there, just a great human being. Both guys, just you always would give the time.
Yeah, and that's one of the things in sports that I hate to see, and you see it more today than you did then. That guys like Guy Lafleur don't finish their career with a team that they just are. I mean, they're the embodiment of that organization. And it happens more today, obviously, than it did at that point in time. But it's not fun when they have to. And it is good when they get that type of ovation when they come back. But they should never have to leave.
No, they shouldn't. No, they didn't. He should have never left Montreal. But you know what? He still put up great numbers when he went around with, I believe, with the Rangers, Nordiques as well. He still was putting up goals without the bucket. That hair was flowing strong. So I mean, great players. It's just that culture that during that time. I'm not trying to make a PSA here, but it's different culture, guys.
Yeah.
What went on during the locker room days and stuff, and now guys had to take care better of their bodies and everything. But you know what? Hey, 2 legends lost too soon because these 2 were great.
And they played for 2 dynasties that really they weren't back to back, but they were close. The Canadians.
The Canadian dynasty in the 70s went right into the 80s dynasties of the Islanders.
I thought there was a little gap.
No, because the Canadian dynasty ended in 79. Was their 5th
point. Yeah.
And then the Islanders started their 4 straight that led to the Oilers winning 4 and 5.
Yeah.
So those were really the last dynasty years of teams winning multiple cups in a row.
I guess I'll bring it to this to take it full circle now that we're talking about dynasties. I've always been one that thought dynasties are good for sports because it gives you somebody to either root for or root against, and they're very polarizing. And I always think they're good for sports. And all these sports want to try to make the game. What's the word I'm looking for? I've lost it now. Parity. You want parity in these leagues, and I don't understand why. Who wants to watch a bunch of mediocre teams when I can have a really great team that everybody can shoot to knock down?
I mean, look, to me, I think Tampa's got a dynasty going right now. I mean, even if they don't win a cup, I mean, back-to-back 5 and 7 years, everything like that. With the Lightning are going for. I mean,
Yeah.
look, the Chicago's did it in 3 and 5. LA 2 and 3. So I mean, those are the modern day dynasties. Pittsburgh went back to back. So I mean,
Back to back doesn't get it done for me for dynasties, though, right?
Well, I mean,
It's
Chicago,
good.
yeah, I mean, it's still good, but I mean, the Penguins have that longevity and everything like that. But like to me, I think Tampa, if they can win another one in the salary cap era, I mean, they're definitely modern day dynasty. I mean,
Yeah.
Look, they have a chance to three-peat. Hasn't been done since the Islanders. Will it get done? I don't know. I mean, but it's going to be tough. But a lot of people are going to be rooting against Tampa. I mean, you talk about parity. You brought up the word parity. Does the NHL really have parity when you have 8 teams that are going to be over 100 points? I would rather have
That's
that
a good point.
than have mediocrity. I think these are the best teams. It's false parity. This point system is just false parity.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But you know what? We're getting good races in the West, so I think this is what they wanted.
Good point. Jim, before we let you go today, what else should we know about the coming week leading up to the playoffs here?
Just keep your eyes, as we said off the top, just keep your eye on seeding, see how teams are going to match up the matchups, see what's going on in the West. I know there's been a lot of talk with Vegas in regards to Robin Lehner and if he's done or not for the season. We'll see if he takes warm-ups today. We'll get that answer. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens if Vegas falls short, what change is going to be made, because to me, they lost what this team was supposed to be about. And the Golden Misfits, that, they're not supposed to be this team that went out and got everybody. They were supposed to be a bunch of cast-offs. It was supposed to be us against the world. And now it's like the world is going against them because they just get everybody. I don't know if they're going to make it, but it's going to be interesting to see. Big games coming up Tuesday. You have the New York Rangers, Carolina. That's big for the Metro. Dallas plays Vegas. That's going to be huge for that wild card spot. So a lot of interesting matchups coming up this week. Playoffs will be decided.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Jim, thanks for being in. I think, through the playoffs, I think we'll try to plan on, if you can make it, we'll plan on at least getting you in for a little bit every Sunday morning if
Absolutely.
you're available. And because we're obviously with the playoffs, we don't want to go. A lot can happen within 2 weeks, and teams are in.
Yeah, exactly. In and out with the best of 7 could be a sweep.
All right. We'll plan that every week. If you can't make it, you let me know.
All right, I will.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Have a great Sunday.
Hey, you too, Keith. Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dynasties in sports today are gone. Money has stopped possibility of someone dominating. I don't know that it's gone forever, Kenny, but it certainly makes it hard. I don't know that it's the money. The money would probably make it more likely. I know you're saying probably players move around more to get a payday, but the teams with money, if you're willing to circumvent or go over the luxury taxes of whatever league we're talking about, their dynasties are still possible. Remember, it isn't like we haven't had any in the last 20 years. Patriots had a dynasty when they won 3 out of 4. I understand it was, 20 years ago, 15 years ago by the time it was over. But good job out of Jim Beringer, of course. Love having Jim on. Bucks have a chance to repeat in the NBA. And I will say again, before we move on from this topic, back-to-back championships are still something special in sports. I don't disagree, but they're not dynasties. To me, you got to get to 3 in a row, 3 out of 4 even. I'll say you're a dynasty, okay? But it's back-to-back, not quite so much. But maybe that's where we're at with this. The way things are in sports today, as Kenny's alluding to. And Jim is saying thanks. And again, thanks, Jim Beringer, for being in. And we'll have him on every Sunday throughout the NFL playoffs. Did Buffalo have one? That's a great question, Kenny. That's a great question. I think those Buffalo teams, again, because of the fact that they lost 4 straight Super Bowls, what's lost in the fact, and they looked at as losers. But what's lost in that comment is the fact that who else has gotten to 4 straight Super Bowls? Nobody. You can't just discount that. Yes, they didn't win the big one, and I get it. And I'm of the belief, by the way, that if Scott Norwood makes that, and again, ifs, I know the road to ruin is filled with what it could have, should have. But if Scott Norwood makes the kick in the first Super Bowl, against the Giants, I think this team could have won possibly 3 or 4 of those games. Again, that's total conjecture. I understand that. I don't have anything to back that up. But after that, they were just waiting for things to happen. So anyway, good stuff from Jimmy B, from the Mad New Yorker. Buffalo went to 4 straight Super Bowls, but lost. I agree. As I just said, it's still, you can't call it a losing dynasty. I wouldn't call it a dynasty necessarily either, because they didn't win. But that was a tremendous football team, and it cannot be discounted that they got there. There is a great film. Carlos has got a great point here. There's a great film on ESPN, 30 for 30. I think it's the 4 Buffaloes or 4 for Buffalo, something like that. It's a really, really good 30 for 30. You ought to check it out. It's a lot of fun. And we don't want to look at that stat. That Carlos Allen. Let's move on. Listen, I want to get into Major League Baseball. We're going to take a look at this thing. It's the number one story. And I know, look at Alan wanted me to leave with Michael Conforto. We already talked about Michael Conforto, but we had something happen today. Sorry, not today, this week. That I don't know when it's going to happen again. I don't know when a player is going to get 3,000 hits ever again. And not just 3,000 hits. Miguel Cabrera is a unique player. 7th player in history to get to 3,000 hits and 500 HRs. I don't know if we're going to see 3,000 again. We'll take a quick look at some of the guys that are close. But I just don't know if we're ever going to see it happen again. Now, the other guys that have done this, by the way, are obviously Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, tremendous players in their era, any era. Rafael Palmeiro, whose career is clouded by steroid accusations. Of course, he thought he was taking B12. I don't know what he was putting in my butt. I mean, who says, give me a shot and don't tell me what's in it? Ugh. Also on that list are Albert Pujols, Alex Rodriguez, another steroid. But again, Alex was a great player and probably would have done it without it. And Eddie Murray. This is something, again, you're not going to see for God knows how long. And by the way, Miguel Cabrera, I think, is one of the most underrated players in baseball today and maybe throughout history. He goes under the radar all the time. He produces year in and year out. He's played on good teams. He's played on bad teams. And I just think he's a player that and he's really never been, a couple minor off the field instances, nothing major. But, he's very underrated and a guy who just flies under the radar and every year. And he won a Triple Crown, by the way. I believe he's the only player ever to be in this 3,500 club that's won a Triple Crown. Something to be said for there, guys. I mean, this is a quite an accomplishment for Miguel Cabrera. And I don't know that we're going to see it ever again. I really don't. I had something I want to reference here about this and about guys who are close. I mean, are we going to see it again? I mean, look at some of the guys that are close, but not close. I want to see. I had something to refer to here. Now I can't find it. Damn it. Let me make sure it's not here. Bear with me 1 second. You guys, I'll get to your comments here in a second as well. All right, I think I found what I want to look at here. So anyway, let me get to your comments real quick before I move on to this. Yeah, no way. There's it's not Conforto over going back to Eli. Yes, I can't look at. I can't talk about this right now. It's too soon. Oh gosh, Conforto over Miggy, no way. Miggy is, this is a story of the year maybe in Major League Baseball. Because again, you're not going to see much of this again. He is my age, actually. I believe he might be a year younger than me, Rick. I'll be 62 here in a couple months, and I think he'll be 61. I'm Miguel Cabrera. Listen, it only seems like he's that old because he came up at 19. Let's not forget. You guys are killing me. Biggie's the number 2 guy on the list for the guys getting paid. A-Rod number 1 on that list. I think we're talking about career earnings. I'm not sure exactly the context there. I'm thinking maybe you're talking about career earnings. A-Rod is favorite. He was high most of his games. Different stuff probably, though, Kenny, is probably my thought there. So anyway, let's take a quick look at something. Again, I talked about this before. When are we going to see another 3,000 hit guy, if ever? The way the game is played today, and you might be starting to see a little swing because home runs are down a little bit. Some batting averages are up. It's early in the season, of course. But until things change and we stop swinging, home runs are valued as much as they are. Home runs and walks, which is just so exciting. Yes, home runs are an exciting part of the game, but not when it's the only part of the game other than walks and strikeouts. Listen, here's the other guys on the list. Robinson Cano has 2,629 hits, but he's 39 years old. He's a part-time player. He's probably the best bet to get there. I don't think he's getting there. I really don't. The next couple guys on the list, Yadier Molina, he's going to retire this year. He's got 2,100 hits, 2,115. Joey Votto is 38 years old with 2,000 hits. And of the hitters that have reached 3,000 in the past century, the average age for them to surpass 2,000 hits was 32 and change. And here's the 5 active players, 32 or younger, who are the closest. Jose Altuve, 1,700 hits, 1,783 hits. He's 31. I see no way he's getting to 3,000 hits. Freddie Freeman, 1,720. He's 32. 280 behind the average. Now, that's not to say these guys play longer. I get that, and they play better later into their careers, not just because of performance enhancement, but the way they train and things like that. Eric Hosmer, 1,600, 32 years old. Manny Machado, 29, 1,400. Jason Hayward, 32, 1,400. I can't believe Jason Hayward's even still in the game, by the way. So, the best, you look at some of the projections, the guy with the best bet is Altuve, and they give him a 34% chance of getting there. I don't see it happening. He's got to play, 7 more years and average 175 hits to get there. Now, he could, but he's had some injuries. He's injured now. So again, this is one of the reasons they're not going to get there. It requires health and longevity. The big contracts may keep guys from playing longer. I don't know if guys get contracts younger. I'll get to your comments here in a second too. They may not get there. They may not play long enough to get there. The average age for a hitter reaching 3,000 hits is 38. Guys aren't staying that long, guys. The hitting environment's changed. We talked about the approach. And don't blame the shift. Hit away from it. If guys actually hit the way they should hit, we'd have more 300 hitters because they'd hit away from these shifts. God. And the argument, somebody's going to say, well, they're doing away with the shift, so it'll give guys a better chance for 3,000 hits. And that's just a ridiculous way to approach this problem. Rather than teach guys how to hit away from shifts. Anyway. Pitching dominance, I don't know if I buy that. Yes, I can tell you one of the factors is that, all these teams have multiple guys who throw gas coming out of the bullpen late in games. So it's harder to get those late inning hits. You're not pitching, you're not playing against tiring starters. But then also, you're also bringing in guys who are not as good at some point in games as well. So we talked about the defensive positioning. So listen, the path to 3,000 hits is not good. Here's the guys with a chance. The highest chance of everybody playing today, Jose Altuve, 34%. Then you drop all the way to 28% for Freddie Freeman. Fernando Tatis, 20%. He's only got 383 hits at 23 years old. Juan Soto, who I would think would be a guy that would have a chance, 18%. Acuna, 13. Robinson Cano, 12. Maybe Cano's got the best shot because he's the closest, and if he can manage to hang on 4 more years and play till he's 43, I don't see that happening. You know, he could average 100 hits and get there, but I don't think it's going to happen. Then you get to Vlad Jr. and some of these younger guys, it might be too soon to talk about them. You know, but one of the greatest players in the game today, Mike Trout's not even on this list. Because he is on the list. 5% chance. He's got 1,400 hits. He's 30 years old already. Another guy who seems like he's been around forever. And there's other guys on this list, but the point is, it's going to be tough to get there. We got a couple other comments here. Oh, I guess I got just one more. Miguel Cabrera is one of the 3 players in Major League history with 300 hits and a 3,000 hits and a 300 average. That's another good stat. Lots of good stats with Miguel Cabrera right here. One of the greatest players in history, without a doubt, and probably one of the most underrated of all the guys that we've talked about. Never, not to my knowledge, any history of accusations of PEDs. Played with good teams, as I said, early in his career. Played with a couple of good teams with Detroit. In fact, he played with a good team, the Florida Marlins, who somehow beat the Yankees in 2003 in the World Series. That's how long he's been around. So anyway, congratulations to Miguel Cabrera, and I don't think we're going to see the likes of this for a long, long time. We may see a lot of guys. We may see a lot of guys hit 500 home runs, but we're not going to see them get the hits that these guys have piled up through their careers. Some great players. And it's an automatic path to Cooperstown unless you're Rafael Palmeiro, who, by the way, is the only player with 3,000 hits or 500 home runs. Oh, and 500 home runs who's not in the Hall of Fame. You're going to see guys hit 500 home runs and not make the Hall of Fame going forward. You've already got some. And McGuire, Sosa, Palmeiro. Let's take a look at the standings real quick, guys. In the East, the American League East, the Toronto Blue Jays starting to show their dominance. They've won 4 in a row now. They're 7-3 their last 10. They're 10-5. This team is going to be very tough. Yankees holding tough. Played a nice game yesterday. Played a nice game Friday night. Great pitching effort from Cortez yesterday, Cortez, as Rick Sherlock, I think, pointed out earlier. Great pitching performance out of the bullpen from Michael King the night before. Little bit better timely hitting. Again, the Yankees' problems, though, aren't going away. The Yankees' problems are still going to be there. They won yesterday because of a late home run from Gleyber Torres. So this team hits home runs, they win. They don't hit home runs, they lose. Same thing we've been watching for years in New York. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating for me. It should be frustrating for you. Tampa Bay, 8-7 again. I still see the Yankees. The team that's really surprising me is the Red Sox at 7-8. But I think they'll find their footing. And the Orioles are probably going to have their best winning percentage they'll have all year at 400, with being 6-9. Excuse me. 6-9 early here. Let me catch a couple comments before I move on here. There's Drew Ehrlich. Good morning, Drew. Injuries and coddling mitigate against 3,000 hits, I think Drew means. It would need someone who starts young and doesn't get injured. Wander Franco. Maybe, but again, unless the way the game is played, Drew, I think that's another factor. It's a huge factor in the fact that home runs are overvalued by teams, and players are going to continue to go that route. Now, if somebody wants to go against the grain and forget about eliminating the shift, just go against the shift, then you would be able to change the way the approach of the game is, or the approach to hitting is addressed today. There's another welcome, Drew. Good to see you there, Drew. Timing in. We got a few more. And you got any other topics you want to talk about? I'm going to go through the rest of the standings. We'll talk about who's doing. Pitchers don't dominate, but it's different because strikeouts are down, but home runs are down as well. It's why they took the spider tack away from pitchers last year, because we can't have the pitchers have any advantage. Strikeouts are not down, I don't believe. I got to look that up. I'll check it in a bit. You could be right, Kenny. And if one of you guys want to kind of look that up, you can let me know. Maybe they're down this year. And again, it's only April, though. Home runs have been down. And to me, home runs are just down because, guys are striking out too much. That's not funny. I'm not sure what wasn't funny. Pitchers don't dominate, strikes are down, just don't. But it's not the starting pitchers I'm talking about, Kenny. It's the fact that all these teams have guys that can come out of the bullpen and throw 100 miles an hour. Everybody's got 4 or 5 of them. I'm not saying they're all really good. It's just, again, the approach to everything has changed so much that I think it's very unlikely that we'll see that happen again. One of the bigger surprises, the Central in the American League is kind of a jumble because the White Sox have played horrendously recently, losing 6 in a row, getting some injuries too. Jimenez gets hurt there this weekend, so they're battling some injuries. The Guardians, who have run into the Yankees this weekend, 7-7, leading that division. The White Sox, as I said, the Twins, who were my pick, are second, 7-8. Certainly not playing great baseball, but they have won 3 in a row. The Tigers, who were a trendy pick to maybe win this division, are struggling along at 6-8. And then you got the Kansas City Royals, who of course are 5-8. What's Drew got here? Rays and White Sox getting killed by injuries. Agreed. You know what? We talked about this last week, Drew. I don't think you were with us because I think you were traveling. So welcome back to the show. And we talked about this a lot last week, that the injuries, and you and I talked about it on the preview show, that injuries early in the season were going to be an important factor. And now you're seeing guys, a ton of guys out hurt. Altuve goes out this week on top of the guys I listed last week. I'm not going to go back through that whole list. But Altuve and Jimenez are 2 of the bigger names that go out this week. And almost every team now, and the Rays and White Sox particularly, are hurting with I'm making fun of Baltimore. Listen, Baltimore team, I will make fun of the Baltimore team because they've been horrendous for years, and their ownership doesn't care about winning. That's very obvious, and they need to get going. We'll talk about LA, and I'm sure that Mark Mancini will be in at 10:25 to really tell me how bad they are, and they're not, by the way. LA Central looks a nicely competitive, mediocre division. It is a mediocre division. I thought the White Sox would run away with this, but win it fairly easily, and the Twins would sneak into the wild card. Right now, it doesn't look like a wild card's in the cards here, but who knows? Moving out to the West, the Mariners leading it at 9-6. A team a lot of people thought, let's temper this with its 15 games. I get it. The Angels, who I like to make the wild card this year, are 8-7. The A's are a bit of a surprise at 8-8 early in the season, but that will change. The Houston Astros, a big disappointment, but again, some injury problems there. I do think they'll right the ship. They've lost 4 in a row, and it's time to right that ship pretty quick. The Rangers have won 3 in a row to move all the way to 5-9. So very good week, end of the week, Alan, with your team. But look, at pitching is still going to be their downfall. And the fact that their number 1 starter's already out in Gray is another issue for them. That's what we got here. Astros are falling apart. Yeah, but I still think the Astros have enough talent and pride I think they'll be the best team in the West before it's all said and done. And again, it's early. Teams had a lot of time to right themselves. And I can't write the Houston Astros off until they do not make the playoffs. This team has been pretty consistent over the last, half a decade. I like the Mets to beat the Giants in what? Today? Care to address the Yankee bleacher bums? Yes, I will address it again. I addressed it at the top of the show, Drew. And I think it's abominable the way these guys act. Not just these guys. I last year I did a vlog on this, as I said, and we'll move on to the National League here in a second. You buy a ticket to a game, it doesn't give you a pass to act like a total ass. And to me, and I said this during the playoffs of the NBA last year when we had guys getting spit on and food thrown on them and their families having racial epithets thrown at them in the stands. And there's just bad behavior throughout sports among spectators and players sometimes as well. I will not give them a total pass. But, there should be a social contract with people in general in this life we're all going through together. And in general, whether it's at a sports venue, on the highway, in the grocery store, we don't have that social contract is broken and people just act like they're the only ones. It's their world and we're passing through it. And it just needs to stop. And it's horrible. And they should find those guys, play the video, and don't let them back in the stands ever. Ever. I'm sorry, I missed this. That's a good sign to compare last year's and hitting woes. Rangers can sweep the A's today. Again, the victories that we've talked about were over who? The A's. Oh, yeah. Glenn Otto had a nice game in his first start. God, again, against the A's. Name me 3 guys in that lineup without looking. Listen. No worries, Drew. I don't mind. I probably would have repeated that anyway, that story. So no worries at all. And again, we'll back up. Guys come and go on the show. I know that. And I have no problem going back and addressing things over. So you guys can kind of post some more comments on anything we just talked about. And I'll move on to the National League quickly. The Mets, we all know about the Mets, 11-5. Actually, they lost yesterday, but they're playing really good baseball. To me, the Buck Showalter effect is very, very obvious with this team. Everything feels much crisper. Yes, they're hitting better. Lindor's hitting better. Alonso's hitting. That helps you, among others. The pitching's been good, even without DeGrom. Carrasco getting a nice start the other day helps. But again, you watch the games, and I'll be the first to admit I don't watch as many Met games as I watch Yankee games. Sometimes I'm watching the end of it when the Yankees are done or whatever. But I'll switch over. And a lot of times you watch Buck talking to players during situations, and he's got them prepared for game situations. That's the difference between Buck and guys like Aaron Boone. Watch my vlog from this week. Buck is prepared for every situation in every game, and he does manage by his gut, or at least pay attention and has a feel for the game and where they're at in a game, and not just read off a script that says, here's what I should do. My pitcher's gone 5 innings and thrown 80 pitches. I need to get him out of the game and bring my 6th inning guy in, and then bring my 7th inning guy in. Gosh. The rest of that division is struggling, though. The Braves, 7-9. The Marlins 6-8. There's a lot of people think they'll be 80, 82 wins this year. I'm not so sure. Philadelphia, they're not scoring the runs they thought that would be scored by this team, and they're going to need to outscore teams by a lot because their defense is not very good. The Nationals are just going to be really bad. We know that. The Cardinals, 9-4, a little bit of a surprise. Nice start for the Cardinals. The Brewers starting to straighten things out after a slow start. They're 9-6. The Pirates, a bit of a surprise. It's 7-8, but I don't expect that to last. The Cubs, 7-8 as well. Who knows? They've won one, and I don't know. And the Reds, again, I think we talked about this I think Drew and I might have disagreed on this. I'd have to go back and look at the tape. I thought that the Reds would be historically bad this year, and I'm not sure if Drew agreed with me or not. You can certainly comment here, Drew, if I'm wrong. But they've lost 11 straight games, and their ownership should be embarrassed with the team they put on the field and embarrassed with the way they've addressed their fans' discouragement with the way this team is being run. See what we got before I move on to the West here. Elvis Andrews is wide over there. There you go. You got one guy. One guy you can name in that Oakland lineup. I'd have to look. I can't name a guy other than Andrews. Spurs, yeah, I'm surprised the Braves are dragging so badly, but it's early and they'll get it together. I think the pitching's too good to be this bad. The team to be this bad throughout the year, and I think they've got a fairly good lineup. Interesting that Olsen is playing Freeman at this point, so we'll see how that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch throughout the year as well. Kenny, only in the pros. The possibility of getting beat up in any stage is great. Oh, it's not only in the pros. People thinking that kids are. I agree with this comment entirely. There's bad behavior throughout sports, all the way down to Little League. Little League parents they teach their kids badly. They act badly in public. And again, not just at sporting events, but out in general. I mean, what kind of precedent are you setting for your kid when you scream and berate a coach or an umpire? God, it's just. And again, Kenny, I saw your comment earlier. I didn't put it up as we were in the hockey system that you thought Rick had come out of retirement when that kid tackled a guy in a ball game. The Red Legs teardown is bad. They're again historically bad team. Again, this team might lose 120 games. And Drew did think their pitcher would keep them afloat. Let's remember too, the Braves struggled through a lot of the year last year, and kind of righted the ship in August and September, and end up winning the World Series. So there's a lot of time to right the ship here. They may have trouble, though, with winning the division because the Mets are – I don't see the Mets having the collapse that they had last year with the better leadership and better culture that's surrounding that team. And a good point, they're playing without Acuna, and that makes a big difference. A few people have the Giants credit to repeat for their success, but so far it is going so far so good. So I'm surprised. I didn't have them I did have them winning 84, 85 games. There's no way they're winning 107 games this year. But I don't have them in the playoffs, at least not right now. And out there to talk about that, 10-4. We'll see what creative way Mark Mancini has to bash the Dodgers when he comes on at 10:25. Hopefully he'll be on camera today. We'll see if that works out or not. The Giants, as Drew mentioned, are 10-5 and only a half game behind the Giants, and playing really good baseball. Gabe Kapler, I watched the Giants and who did I watch the other night? Was it Giants and Mets? No. I was watching a little of a game Friday night. Gosh, I can't remember who they were playing. By the way, Apple TV, awful. Go away. Major League Baseball just keeps selling out, trying to make more money and selling these packages to Peacock and Apple. Peacock was a little better. I watched some of their games last week, but the two times I've turned on Apple TV on a Friday night, it's awful. Plus, if you want to watch the Yankees, you got to jump through hoops just to get the game on, for crying out loud. Elsewhere in the West, you guys can comment if you like. Rockies 9-5, still one of the bigger surprises in baseball. Again, early, but this is a team that's putting the ball in play. Not making mistakes, but again, I don't think they have the pitching or the depth to hold up through the season. The Padres, who are Mr. Mancini's pick to win this division, I don't see them doing it, but they are 10-6 without Tatis, without much contribution from, again, some of their better or higher paid pitchers. And then the Diamondbacks, listen, 6-9. This might be their high water mark too, is 400, as I mentioned with the Orioles. Let's see what we got here. We got quite a few comments I got to get to. Did that one? Alan says, so the Bears beat the Steelers 21-0 last night. Oh, wait, that was the Cubs. Yes. Interesting game. By the way, a couple things last night from last night's games. The Steelers, the Pirates get beat 21-0 by the Cubs. That doesn't happen very often. And the Rays lost a no-hitter in the 10th inning and lost the game to the Red Sox in, I think, walk-off fashion. So taking a no-hitter into the 10th game, of course, the starter, it's not a no-hitter unless you finish it. So a couple interesting facts from last night's games. Rocky's success. Rocky's success is surprising but likely temporary. I agree, Drew, as I just kind of mentioned. It'd be good to see them play better, but I just don't see it happening. The Rockies did give up 13 runs to the Tigers yesterday. That goes to the point about their pitching just not holding it up. Well, I don't think they can just do that, though. Some of the games, by the way. So Apple, and the way I understand it, and I'm still trying to figure it out. So Apple has this package where they get the exclusive rights, I think, the Thursday night games. But their crews only do a couple of the games. And their crews are awful. Awful, awful, awful. They make John Sterling and Susan Waldman look like the best baseball announcing team ever. I know they're on radio, but still. But the other games, like the Yankee game, you got the Yankee announcers because it was but you had to go to Apple. I couldn't watch it on Yes. I had to go to Apple and sign into my MLB account, and it was just a pain in the ass. Excuse my French today, but God, come on. Somebody else, and Peacock's was a little better. And also there's another package. I don't know who has it on Sundays. I think there's 10 or 12 games, and they're going to show games at like 11:30 in the morning. So be watching out for that. There'll be some time changes to some of your games. So the Rangers A's game on Apple TV, it was laughingly bad. I mean, I don't understand where they find these guys and how they think this is fun for people to watch. Yeah, commentary wise, I get it, Alan. It's a good thing that you have to try so hard to watch. Maybe keeps me calmer if I don't see the games, I suppose. Yankee home games are on the S Network on DirecTV. Not all of them. They were home against so not all. First of all, some games are broadcast on the WB or whatever. We get it on I think the CW up here. So those games aren't on Yes. And the Friday night games, maybe it's the home games. Maybe you're right. Yeah, I'm not sure how they break that out. But the game was home Friday night, if I'm not mistaken, Rick, against the Guardians. And the game was on Apple TV. It wasn't on Yes. The Yes team did it, but I had to go through Apple and then through Major League MLB.com to get to the game. And it was just so painful. If I'd known this before, I would have got it ready, before the game. I missed the whole first inning trying to get it done. Rays, wait a minute. Rays didn't beat the Red Sox, did they? Did I say that wrong? Hold on. I thought I had the Rays losing that game. Or maybe I said they stunned. Maybe I read it backwards. Where's the Rays? I don't want to get this wrong. My ombudsman, one of them, Alan. Sorry, my bad. I called that wrong. It was a walk-off home run for the Rays by Kevin Kiermaier. Good call. Thank you for catching me on that. And there's Drew. There's my other ombudsman catching me. Misspoke again. Go figure. Rangers had the most runs in the game, I think, 30 runs. I don't really know the record, but I will take you at your word there, Alan. We got a lot of comments here. We not get to anything else. picking on the Orioles. Listen, they can make it easy on themselves by trying to win games, you know? I mean, putting a winning product on the field. Michael Conforto will miss the entire season. Excellent point. Rick, Rick. Man. Drew, excellent point. Alan wanted this to be my lead baseball story. I'm not sure why that would be a lead baseball story over Miggy, but it's fine. It is a big story. Conforto's out for the year. Conforto also may have cost himself millions and millions and millions of dollars by not signing a long-term contract the Mets had in front of him last year, which was, by all reports, between $100 and $120 million. He wanted to hit the open market, and this is what happens. Well, you can't have him until I pick him up, or you can't pick him up until after I drop him, I should say, Rick, which will probably be today. And the Baltimore ace, John Means, is out for the season with Tommy John surgery. Another good point, right, Eric? God, why do I want to keep calling you Rick? Another good point, Drew. Again, just another huge, well, huge, if you can say the Orioles losing their ace is huge. Sorry, Kenny, I did it again. But anyway. What else was I going to talk about here today, Major League Baseball? Couple of, I was going to get into manager. We'll do that next week because I want to get into some NFL stuff here before we get Mark Mancini here. Let me just get into some football stuff right now, I guess, quickly. Let me see. I got some other notes here. Conforto, any commentary you can certainly feel free to put up. We talked about the Yankee fans, absolutely atrocious. Let's get into some NFL. Couple of quick things too. The draft, don't forget, is Thursday night. We'll be live on I don't know about Roku yet, but we'll be live on Northeast Streaming Sports. You can catch it on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'll probably likely share the feed to the TGI Sports Talk page as well. We'll be live at 7:30. It'll be hosted by Mac and Jack from the Mac and Jack Show. I'll be co-hosting along with Robert Butler from Sports Scopes, and we'll have some guests on through the show. The Philly sports guy Jamie Peggs will be live in Vegas at the draft, as maybe Sneaky G might come on, and I know Captain Jack might come on, but we'll also have Jim Jeffcoat, former Dallas great, who does a show with Mac and Jack on Sundays. Great guy. And I'll be meeting him in person in June when I go to an event that we're going to be broadcasting from. And also Byron Williams, former Giant Jet, will be making they'll be on for the Dallas Cowboy pick, and in Byron's case, the Giants pick. So anyway, the draft's coming up. It's going to be very interesting, by the way. A record 8 teams with no first-round picks, including the defending champion Rams. So I think you're going to see, I mean, we did our mock draft Friday, and I made a pick. I was on Mac and Jack. I'm on with them on Sunday mornings, and Jim Jeffcoat. On Friday mornings, I go on at 8. I'm sorry, Sunday mornings, I go on at 8:10 for about 15, 20 minutes, and we talk whatever topic they've got for me that day. And today was the Patriots draft pick, and I picked Nakobe Dean. Hopefully he's still there, and I was kind of berated because Jim Jeffcoat let me know he was only 5'11", which I understand, but he's the kind of speedy, athletic linebacker that Bill Belichick loves, and very versatile. So it'll be interesting. Have a great day, Drew. Good to see you. A couple other comments I wanted to get through, topics I wanted to get through. Tampa Bay, to help the team navigate their salary cap, as he has done many times in his career, unlike one Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady has renegotiated his contract to free up $9 million in salary cap space at a time when the Bucs can certainly use it. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Listen, I've got Jordan Davis, who actually could go to the Patriots, falling all the way to 27 in the Bucs. Some other people have them much earlier. Some people got them later. These guys are all up and down the board. And one thing I will tell you about the draft, and I think the Bucks get him. It's going to be huge if they can get him. But get back to them freeing up this money. They need money if they want to re-sign Gronk. They need money if they want to re-sign Sue. They need money to fix some of the holes that they've lost through free agency and make this a contending team. So Tom Brady does what Tom Brady does. And I'm not saying he's hurting for money. So, it's not like he cut his contract from $75,000 to $20,000, but it is the way it should be done if you want to win in this league. And Aaron Rodgers and his $50 million are certainly going to strap the Packers this year for sure. Hold on, we got something going on here noise-wise. All right. What else did I want to talk about? 3 games on Christmas Day this year. Let me move my banner here. I got to get to let me get to my banner about news and that's the NBA. We're not going to get to the NBA again. I bet you guys are all happy about that, right? I was going to talk about that. Don't have enough time to talk about that. NFL news and notes. That's where we are. So listen, 3 games on Christmas Day this year. I don't know what the games are, but I don't think it'll matter. The NBA has got to be just, I don't know, having a stroke about this. Christmas Day for many years now has been really the exclusive, mostly. I mean, there's been a few games on Christmas for the NFL, depending on how the schedule fell, and they've started to sneak a few games in here and there. But for a lot of years, this was the NBA's big deal, was Christmas Day, and the NBA is going to be hurting. If there's going to be games all day long on Christmas Day for the NFL, the NBA audience is going to shrink and shrink and shrink. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that all shakes out. What do you got here? An event. I'm not sure what he's referring to. Oklahoma had the highest spring game attendance. Over 75,000 fans showed up. Very, very good stuff. Listen, we're going to dive into a lot of college football, and I did my draft stuff, I think, last week, so we're going to avoid the NFL draft. Now it's the NFL, and I'm not going to concentrate on the college sports huddle. So we'll be looking at more of the football news throughout the league, and even look at some more historic. We'll get back into history a little bit too. Kenny, look, I had my day when the Patriots kept the guys on the fur coats and the funny hats. Who are we talking about? Randy Moss? Ocho Cinco? I can't remember. Tom Brady can sell football for $1 million. Aaron Rodgers can't do that. I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. These football games will have major playoff implications compared to the NBA midseason games. It is smart. Listen, the NBA, I've got some problems with the NFL here and there, but, the way they market the league is really pretty good. I mean, they're in the news 12 months a year. They schedule games. Some will say that they're oversaturating the market with games. We'll find out. The ratings will tell out, right? Because you're about to have games on Thursdays. You might have games on Fridays, which again they've had to stay away from for years because of college football. I'm sorry, high school football. Saturday games, Sunday games, Monday games. We're going to see soon, because you're probably going to have games spread out all over the week when this new TV deal gets done, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. What else is going on in football? Interestingly enough, the Giants have their number 1 pick, wide receiver Tony on the block. I don't know what they think they're going to get for him. They should hang on to him and hope he can develop better. First-year wide receivers don't always make it in this league, or don't always make it right away in this league, depending on the schools that they come from. They're not going to get a first-round pick for him if they move him now. So I don't know what they're thinking about. Now that could be, he could be part of a trade. The Giants do have 2 of the top 10 picks, as the Jets do. As I mentioned, there's 8 teams with no first-round picks. You could see, and you've got, 8 teams with no first-round picks. You've got, I think, 7 teams, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have my notes here. I think 6 teams with 2 first-round picks, and the Eagles with 3. You're liable to see a record number of trades here. I mean, the mock drafts that I've given you picks for may never come to fruition just because there's no way to predict what will happen. And there could be trades, and there will be reaches, and guys won't go where they think they go. But I think the Giants possibly could use Tony and draft picks maybe to move around the draft. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It'll be very interesting to see how this all plays out. What else did I write down here? I don't want to give them the best drafts. We got no time for that. We'll have Mark Mancini on a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about that. Let's see what else I got in the NFL. Oh, Brady. We already talked about Brady. We talked about 3 games. Oh. Healthier Dak Prescott, excited to hit the ground running. That'll make Allen happy. Listen, I can see them taking an offensive lineman to help their running game. I picked Zion Johnson, I think, in my mock draft to go to the Cowboys. Did I? Who did I take there? Cowboys. Nope, Tyler Lindenbaum from Iowa was the pick that I had there. But Zion Johnson would be another good pick from Boston College for them. The Chiefs are stating they're not in rebuilding mode despite the key losses that they've had. Listen, the Chiefs have 2 first-round draft picks too. I think they've done enough getting Juju Smith, assuming he's healthy, to replace Tyreek Hill. If they get if they can find a way to get Deebo Samuel, I won't say Sweeney this time, that team is going to be, I think, just as good as they were, and they can use their 2 first-round draft picks for much-needed defensive help, unless they have to trade them. And they probably can't get, actually, now that I think about it, they probably can't get Samuel without trading at least one of them, so we'll see. Earl Thomas, former great with Seattle, he's talking about coming back to the NFL after 2 years out of the league. That ought to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. And then we've got some other stories that are just not important right now. Let's catch up with your comments here real quick. Carlos, Green Bay can be the first team to blow in the draft after the first round. Listen, Green Bay, they've got a couple first-round picks. I think they got a couple first-round picks, don't they? Back to my draft picks. Packers, I've got them. Yeah, I've got them taking defensive end out of Michigan. Can't say his name. And I've also got them taking the kid from North Dakota State, the wide receiver, I believe, Christian Watson. So the Packers could potentially fix some of the holes that they have, but I just don't see that team contending with some of the things that are going on there. Christmas does fall on a Sunday this year. Very interesting. So when are the rest of the games going to be played? It's probably Saturday. So they're not playing a full slate of games. So you may get a full slate of games and a bunch of games on Christmas Eve, which would be a lot of fun for us football fans. I love that weekend. Mark, did I miss somebody's comment? You must be seeing a comment I can't see. Oh, I see. I'm going to die. You wait 9 months more for his cheesesteak. Sorry, I just read that. That being said, Kenny did not tell us what was for breakfast this morning, so hopefully he can catch us up there. What else is going on? Listen, we're full swing in the NBA playoffs. The Nets playing atrociously, getting out coached atrociously, down 3-0 to the Celtics. Very bad spot for them. Let's talk about this quickly, maybe before Mark comes in. We'll run down the NBA playoffs really quickly because I know you guys aren't that excited about it. Let's get to the playoff matchups. Just look at it quickly and see where we're at. Right now, we got the Heat leading the Hawks 2-1. The Hawks winning the last game in exciting fashion, 111-110. Their next game is today at 7 p.m. You got the Celtics, as I said, really putting it to the net so far, 3-0. Their next game will be on Monday. And by the way, the Nets are just not – Kevin Durant's not himself. They're shorthanded. The Celtics are just better, deeper, better coached than the Nets, and it's that clear. With that said, I would love to see Kevin Durant find his way to the Knicks. Maybe they'll settle for Julius Randle and not Julius Randle, but Randle and I don't know, I can trade another piece and bring Kevin Durant here. You don't think Kevin Durant would come in here and be happy playing with Barrett and Toppin? I think it would be a lot of fun. It will never happen because they're never going to trade him to the Knicks, but be interesting to see. The Bucks, who I do like, as Alan mentioned earlier, I like the Bucks to be able to repeat here. They're beating a very good Chicago team, 2-1 so far. Blew them out by 30 points in Game 3. The next game will be tonight, or today at 1 p.m. actually on ABC. I might catch a little bit of that game while I'm watching the Yankee game. The 76ers are leading the Raptors 3-1. The Raptors did find a way to stay alive and not get swept here in Game 4 the other night. They'll be playing on Monday as well. And out west, you've got the Suns, who are now going to be without Booker, I think, for a while. Going to miss at least another game as far as I know. They do lead the Pelicans 2-1. But I still think the Suns will have enough to get by that series. The Grizzlies and the Timberwolves are tied at 2. Who never thought we'd see the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves in this playoff series? I did, or playoff round. The Warriors, who are starting to get it back, they've got Steph Curry back. They're leading 3-0 against the Nuggets. And the Nuggets getting ready to go out really early again. The Mavericks and the Jazz are tied at 2-2. The Jazz did win the last game, so they didn't fall into a 3-1 hole. Could be talk about Quinn Snyder leaving the Jazz for the Lakers if they have another early first-round exit. We'll see what happens there. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. And also, there's talk about both Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert moving on if this team does fall apart. So as we wait for Mr. Mancini to call in, I don't know if he's going to call in. I don't know if he's going to, hopefully he's going to come on the camera. Let's see what we got here. Here's Kenny's breakfast. Quiche broccoli, cheddar mushrooms, and quiche with broccoli, cheddar mushrooms, and bacon. Oh, by the way, guys, I was out last night. If you're in the area, in our area, get out to DeRaymond's restaurant. I think it's Latham, basically. It's off Route 9. Near Latham. Tremendous Italian restaurant. I had the best steak and stuffed shrimp last night over a bed of garlic mashed potatoes and a cream sauce and a nice bottle of wine, which I drank pretty much all of. My wife had like half a glass. And get out there to DeRaymond's and maybe we can get them to sponsor the show. Well, yeah, I think we already figured that part out, Kenny, but thanks for sharing. Who knows what's legal up there in the mountain? It's probably always been legal. NFL schedule comes out the 12th of May, from what I hear. I think that's probably about right. Middle of the month is usually about when we can look for it. If I could afford, I would make a trip out there. Where are you going to make a trip to, Alan? Out here? Come during the summer, man. Don't come during the winter. All right, let's see what all the fillers we got. What do you guys got to talk about while I'm doing this? We're going to talk about the draft a bit with Mr. Mancini. We'll talk about some other things that we've already talked about. What did I miss? Let's see. Yeah, I got to go back to real quickly. I want to go back to Cabrera. I just feel like, this is what's wrong with baseball is that we're not going to have these types of records set anymore. And it's sad because the way, and I know things change and they're cyclical, but that's the way it is. Anyway, without further ado, I guess we have Mr. Mancini calling in this morning. Good morning, Mark Mancini. How are you? Uh-oh. Can you hear me? We got the wrong thing on here. Hang on, Mark. Somehow my phone switched over the Bluetooth to the wrong thing. Don't go away, Mark. Hopefully you can hear me. Don't hang up. I had this set up and somehow it went away. Got to disconnect that. There you go. How about now?
I can hear you loud and clear. Man, oh man, them Yankee fans, man, are you leading that ruckus out there in the bleachers throwing stuff at the Cleveland Indians?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I talked about it earlier. It's just ridiculous what's going on there, and it makes me sick to watch that stuff. Fans think they pay for a ball game, they can come in and act like complete imbeciles, and I just hate it. And I hope that they find these guys and don't let them back in. How about now? I'm still trying to get you live on here, Mark. How about now? We're having some serious problems here. Don't go away.
No.
Why can't I get you on the Bluetooth? How about now? Can't get you where they can hear you. Hang on one second. I had this all set up. We're going to have to unpair it and try it again. Bear with me.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks.
I think the Cubs scored 3 touchdowns against my Pirates.
They did score 21. We'll certainly jump into that a little bit. Hang on, let's try this one more time. Why is this not working?
And then we got
Now you disappear altogether. Why? Bear with me, guys. Don't know what's going on. Try one more time. Mark's disappearing from us. All right, guys. I don't know what to do. We're going to lose all our viewers if I don't do something different here. Hey, where are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hold on. Maybe you turn this up. Why is it so dim, though? Speak again, Mark.
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2.
Well, I hear you in my headset. I don't know if they can hear you, though. Alan, you're there. Tell me if you can hear him. It's funny. In my headset, you are very, very low. Somebody give me a heads up. Talk about something, Mark. Talk about something.
Well, I'll tell you, the Minnesota Timberwolves are back in this thing.
Yeah, good point. We just went through the NFL playoffs, and the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves are locked in a pretty good series, tied 2-2.
Yeah, I got a good friend that's a
Yeah, I
TV
can't.
announcer over there.
Yeah, and again, these aren't two teams that we would expect to be in the playoffs at all, much less. How about now? I'm trying to get you guys some more volume. I just can't do it. Put him up without his picture. Here's Johnny. I didn't put your picture up there. Oh God. So anyway, I don't know, guys. You're gonna have to bear with me, and I'm gonna try something else. You know what we'll do?
Today.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you close to the mic, and we're going to try this because my Bluetooth doesn't seem to be working. I don't know why. Anyway, yes. So here's what I want to get into with you before we run out of time and we spend the whole time trying to get you on the air.
Right.
I want to talk about first the NFL draft because it's going to be gone by the time you and I talk again. So here's what I want you to do is I want to get your first 5 picks in this draft, and I'll talk to you a little bit about who I took. And then I want to give me your Pittsburgh picks, and can't have you give a Rams pick, I guess, because they don't have one, and maybe a Chargers pick, since that's your kind of your areas of expertise. So give me who you see going the first 5 picks in this draft, with number 1 starting obviously with Jacksonville.
Well, yeah, I think. Well, the big thing here is who's going to get Pickett. That'll be the big thing. I think that and that. I'm trying to think of that defensive end. I think he's from Clemson or North Carolina. I think the Giants might secure him. I can't think of his name. Oka.
Yeah, the kid from North Carolina State. Yeah.
Yeah. He's another Chase Young type, and I think he goes to the Giants. I will tell you, I think Atlanta will scoop him up.
Interesting.
London from USC will probably go to Atlanta. And then that other quarterback that the Steelers are looking at besides Pinkett, Malik or something. I'm trying to think of his name as well. He could be going somewhere too, but it's gonna be interesting because I think these picks, I think there's gonna be trade value in here. I think San Francisco is gonna trade Samuel there to Houston, and they're gonna get some picks. I think Garoppolo is gonna go to Pittsburgh maybe for some picks. So it's going to get interesting here. I don't think there's multiple teams that got 2 picks in the top 10. I think it's the Giants, Eagles. I think there's one more. Right?
Well, the Jets and the Giants both have multiple picks in the top 10. That's it.
And the Eagles do too, right?
The Eagles have 3 picks in the draft, but only I think only 1 in the top 10.
Oh, okay. So
in fact, they don't have any in the top 10, but they do have 3 picks throughout the first round.
Yeah, that's where I'm looking at. I'm thinking trade value is going to be huge here on this thing across the board. But I am calling my shot. I think London will end up in Atlanta. That's the definite.
How about
I don't know.
How about your Steelers? Because again, for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, every mock draft I see almost has had Kenny Pickett locked into the Steelers at number 20.
Yeah, that's like Mac Jones went to New England. I mean, they're going to do whatever they can to secure their future quarterback there. But in the meantime, look for Cleveland to release Baker Mayfield. The Steelers will jump on that. And I feel comfortable more with Baker Mayfield in Pittsburgh because I like the swag more so than Garoppolo. But either one of those two could be in Pittsburgh if they don't get Pinkett. They're going to get one of these 3. I will bet the farm on it. They will get Mayfield, Garoppolo, or Pinkett. And Trubinsky will be either the backup to those 2 starters, or he'll be the starter where Pinkett will carry the clipboard. But you don't carry the clipboard for long. You've seen it through the days of Elway when Elway backed up Steve DeBerg and all those guys. Yeah, they hold the clipboard for a year. They don't wait now. They just definitely throw you right into the fire. They got too much money at stake, and I don't like that because it burns out some of these quarterbacks like a Trey Lance, like a Justin Fields, or the Wilson guy in New York. These kind of guys, I mean, they're giving them 3 games, and then they're ready to trade them. I mean, that's the thing here. You watch, if the 49ers get rid of Garoppolo, they'll be like the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah.
Well, let me fill you on where I had your Steelers, because I think there's going to be some interesting things that happen here. The Saints have traded. I was wrong about the Eagles having 3 picks. I forgot they traded 1 to the Eagles. Alan straightened me out on that. I think Malik Willis goes number 5 to Carolina, which, by the way, there's been talk this week that Kenny Pickett may end up with that 6th pick in Carolina. We'll see. I don't see that. I think they're going to go with Willis. And I see the New Orleans Saints really kind of surprising people here. And I think it was at 16 taking Kenny Pickett and blocking the Steelers out of that pick. So your team, in my mock draft, I had Zion Johnson, offensive lineman, very good, versatile offensive lineman from Boston College, going to Pittsburgh. So that will open up the door for Baker Mayfield to potentially be coming and be their quarterback.
Well, not only that, when you look at the other thing is, Atlanta needs a lot of help. And, you can't feel comfortable with Mariota there in Atlanta. I mean, even though he was, not bad fit in Nashville, but he really didn't do nothing with the Raiders. But the big key there is Atlanta needs a quarterback. And let's face it, the NFC is a dumpster fire across the board. They only have about 3-4 teams over there, and that's why the smart money's on Tampa, Green Bay, the Rams. There's no competition in any one of those divisions.
Wow.
And the Rams, if the 49ers start to get rid of Garoppolo and Samuel there, then you've got you got a breeze, because who knows? And there's been rumors Murray could be heading to Pittsburgh too. So,
well, yeah,
another one.
A lot of talk about Kyler Murray the last week or so. The Cardinals, the last I heard, have denied that they'll ever move Kyler Murray. I'm not sure if that'll happen or not. Garoppolo and Samuel, I'm going to tell you what, if Deebo Samuel leaves 49ers, they won't win 5 games next year, I don't think.
And not only that, that's the problem of the division. When you look at the Rams, no competition, the Bucks, no competition, and the Packers, no competition. The only competition is going to come with the NFC East, and that NFC East can have, the Skins and the Cowboys battling it out. Who knows if the Eagles are right there? I mean, the Giants are on the door, but is their quarterback Jones going to lead them to the promised land?
Well, I think out west you'll get some competition, because I think Murray will stay, and I think they'll give the Rams, or Cardinals will give the Rams a little bit of a race. In the central of the NFC, I think the Packers are coming back to the pack. I'm not saying anybody else is that good, but this could be the year the Vikings, if they can straighten out a few of the issues they've got, they could make a run at that division title, because the Packers, unless they have a really good draft here and fill some of the holes that they've left when they've given their quarterback $50 million and strapped themselves elsewhere cap-wise, I think there's a chance the Packers are going to take a step backwards.
Aaron Rodgers basically screwed his best friend there. If he signed the big $200 million contract, he should have included, Devontae Adams in that thing. As far as him staying, he didn't care. He looked out for himself. And that's the problem. But, watch out. Metcalf could go to Green Bay, too. There's a rumor Seattle's just cleaning salary out completely. So if Metcalf goes to Green Bay, that's going to be another interesting situation.
But listen, Green Bay's got to have money to spend, and their money's wrapped up in their quarterback. So I'm not sure that they're going to have the money to spend. That's why it may be rookies they have to depend on. I hear they like the kid out of North Dakota State, Watson.
Let's face it, Keith. I mean, there's 3, possibly 4 teams, maybe a 5th being a surprise. You can't get it any higher than that. And you got like I said, the Rams, Bucks, Pack. You got the Cowboys there, and then you got to flip the coin on the Redskins, the Vikings, and the Giants. Who's going to be number 5? Carolina's not going nowhere. Atlanta's not going nowhere. When you look at it, New Orleans, you got Chicago and Detroit over there.
Yeah.
Did the Cardinals make it 3 times? Somebody host a Super Bowl in their backyard? I don't know. That's the thing. So that's the problem when you look at it.
On the surface, at least right now, and we got to wait to see how the draft shakes out as well. But the AFC is much more competitive, I think, than the NFC, as you're kind of alluding to.
Teams in the AFC that legitimately are going to knock each other. And when you look at it, if you looked at this from a college standpoint, we've talked about this too. The AFC, the SEC, and the NFC could be the Big 12.
Yeah. There's a couple of comments here I wanted to get to. Carlos is talking about the Samuel going to Green Bay and them giving up their picks. I don't see that happening, because again, how are they going to pay him? He wants money, and I don't think the Packers have the wherewithal to pay these, whether it's Metcalf or Samuel or whoever you want to talk about. I don't think they got the money. And Rick also thinks you're discounting his Vikings again.
Pat, I still think they're good enough to win the division again. There's no competition. The Lions are just atrocious, and I'm 60 and feeling like 35, and the Lions, to me, they haven't had a quarterback in 6 decades there, and I'm not a big Stafford guy, and you might have to go back to Greg Landry there. And we talked about that one as well. That's going to be the most downtrodden dumpster fire in all 4 major sports is the Detroit Lions.
Oh, that's a good point. And you know what? They get the first. I think they've got the second and the last pick in the first round. And I don't know if they're going to make picks or trade or what they're going to do, but whatever they do, I'm sure it will not be right. Because the Lions just have they're just a badly run organization.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They'll get interest in here. with the draft coming up Thursday. So that's going to be something. We'll find out trades and everything. But what the hell was going on in New York with the Yankees?
Yeah,
man.
Let's talk about that for a bit. I know, because I don't think anybody could hear you when you were bringing it up to me early on. I mean, obviously we had the fans going a bit ballistic at the end of the Yankee game yesterday, and I've talked about this a couple times on the show. I did a vlog last year about fan behavior. To me, Mark, it's kind of a commentary on our society in general, right? You go to a ball game, you pay to get in, and you think that, you can do whatever you want, and you don't. You can't do that. But it's not, these things aren't relegated to ballparks anymore. It's on the highways, it's in the grocery stores. We have a social contract to, treat each other with some respect. And we don't do that anymore as a rule. I'm not saying everybody, right? But
the problem is in doing that pirate podcast and talking to Tarek Brock, and going into these cities, he said, the Cub fans will give you the business, but you get into Philly, you get into New York, it's more of a vocal type of thing. Even at Dodger Stadium, I mean, with the Reds in town, you can, the bullpens are right up on each other. You can hear these drunks that have been drinking since 7 in the morning for a 1 o'clock game, giving these guys a bunch of crap, and that's what it is. And you're right, you got to throw these guys completely out. You got to ban them. It's a Raider type of mentality, and people go, well, no, it isn't. Well, if I see the same type of element at a Dodger game, and I see that at a Raider game, I mean that's telling me that's a perception factor that, these kind of guys need to be thrown out and banned from the stadiums.
exactly.
That's what it is, because you almost had an incident yesterday in New York where it almost reminded me of the Malice in the Palace. These guys are only going to take so much, and they're taught not to go in the stands, but with those beers flying and just coming down in droves. I mean, you're gonna hit somebody in the forehead, and the one guy caught it. I think it was Miles Straw before it even hit his teammate there. So these kind of things need to be addressed. There's no accountability. I've always said in building a business or running a business, you got to have accountability, communication, encouragement, listening, preparation. The Yankee organization should be beside themselves and look at these people that are throwing the beers and ban them completely from the stadium. Who cares about them spending money to buy tickets?
Yeah, and let me get, because Rick brings up a point here. People put it to COVID, and I don't necessarily agree with that. And he's not saying that that's what it is, because we had a point brought up by another viewer, Kenny Gifford, earlier about the fact that this isn't just in professional baseball. We're concentrating on that, but it's happening throughout sports in general. And as I said, society. You go to Little League. I mean, these guys that are going to these games, they grew up playing Little League and listening to their parents berate managers, berate the other teams, berate umpires. I mean, to the point where you have physical altercations, and we think that's okay. And that's how these kids for the last 20 years have been indoctrinated in how you should act in society. And I think it does have an effect on how people act in public when during their formative years. This is what they learned.
The other factor is, the salaries are put out there. These fans are sucking down, Molson's or Coronas or whatever. They the first thing they're thinking about is these guys are high-priced babies and all that, and they feel like they're entitled to yell at these guys that are making, let's face it, the average salary, if you make it to the majors now, has been raised from, I think, $475,000 to $750,000. So these guys are just pissed off. They go to do their 8 to 5 job.
Then stay home. Stay home.
They take the ribbon from their boss. And they feel like if they go buy a ticket, they're entitled to it. I say I'll take it one step further. Get your ass in a car, head to Florida or Arizona, see if you can hit 104 mile an hour fastball, and they'll pay you. That's the bottom line.
Exactly. And if you're unhappy about what they make, then stop watching games. I mean, don't go to the ballpark and throw things at people. I mean, Or, this happened during the NBA playoffs last year too. You had guys getting spit on, you had food being thrown at people, you had their families having racial epithets thrown at them in the stands, and it's just atrocious behavior.
In New York was absolutely. I said to myself, "This is ridiculous. This ain't paper cups of beer being thrown. These are like cans being thrown and stuff." And I'm saying, well, I blame the Yankees for selling this stuff to the the bleachers. You got to curb that thing or shut the sales down after the third, fourth inning instead of the seventh. You got to do something. I think the Yankees got to be held accountable too, because why are these guys coming in with full beer? Years ago they had Bat Day when that was a big thing growing up. And the Yankees started banning it or something, or Ball Day or whatever, because people would start throwing the crap on the field.
Yeah, good point. Let's move on to something in a little bit of time we got left here, Mark. Let's move on to something more in baseball that's more fun to talk about. And to me, one of the most underrated players, maybe in the history of baseball, Miguel Cabrera, gets to not just 3,000 hits, but he's the seventh guy in history to get to 3,000 hits and 500 home runs. And I don't think we're not going to see one for a long time. We may never see a 3,000 hit guy again, just like we won't see a 300 win game pitcher.
One step further. 3,000 hits, 500 home runs, and a lifetime 300 batting average. Only 3 players have done that, and he's one of them. Mays was one, and Aaron was the other. So let's take it up to that point. And you know what? He's had a nice little career there, been under the radar, and in Detroit, you don't get the publicity you would if you were in LA and New York. He came from, the Florida Marlins organization. So that's going to be interesting. You might not see that again, but that's a good thing about baseball is here's a guy, you get the publicity with a Trout, Harper, and stuff like this. It's nice to see Cabrera get it from Detroit.
And, and Alan brought up that same stat that you brought up earlier, and I'll take it one step further. There's one thing he's done that nobody's ever done, and that's 3,000 hits, 500 home runs, and win a Triple Crown. And nobody in baseball, including Willie Mays, Henry Aaron, all the greats have ever done that. And that's a tremendous feat. And I think this guy's just flown under the radar for most of his career.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's pretty much amazing. And the only thing he hasn't done is hit 400, and that would be something too. And we haven't seen that since I believe Ted Williams.
And I think this guy, you know what? Because the Hall of Fame, this guy should be unanimous entry into the Hall of Fame. This becomes a big thing these days, and there's always guys that say, "Oh, nobody can get in on the first round." We know Mo Rivera was the first to do it, but guys like Miguel Cabrera, with the numbers and the career that he's had, the consistent career that he's had, they have to be no-brainers, and they should be unanimous Hall of Fame votes.
Yeah, no question about it. In baseball, with the problems they've had of late, and when you look at it, it's the surprises and the teams that are playing atrocious baseball. I can't believe it. The Arizona Diamondbacks got a 181 batting average throughout their team.
Oh, look at the Reds. Look at the Reds.
Reds have lost, I don't know, they're 2-13.
11 in a row they've lost already.
Yeah, and this is part of the problem is when you get away half your team, the Sonny Grays, the Winkers, the Suarez's, and you're only left with Votto. I mean, this is the part of the problem, and I like it now. Now you can't tank, because if you tank, there's going to be 5 other teams flipping that coin with you. So the tanking thing is going to be out of the realm. But this is sad what's going on in Cincinnati. Big surprises across the board. The Dodgers have jumped out of the gate, but we'll find out what their depth is like. They've lost a lot of depth the last 3 years. I still think when the dust is cleared, it'll be the Padres and Jays for the World Series. Well,
your Padres have held, they've held their own so far. They're 10-6, so they're not like they're playing badly. But the Giants and Dodgers are right where they were last year, it seems. So at least for now.
I'll tell you one thing, they get the Dodgers today. They get to 11-6. There's a 4-game series in Cincinnati. Maybe they'll be 15-6 before they head to Pittsburgh. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and maybe the Pirates will stop them 2 out of 3. So they might literally be, 16-8 by the time we talk again. Who knows?
Excellent. Mark, what else you want us to know? Either what's on your mind elsewhere in sports, or what else you got going on in your world this coming week before we let you go?
My Penguins can do something. We lost our goaltender, so the playoffs will be starting here soon. So we're trying to hold off the Capitals, chase down the Rangers. Boy, the NHL playoffs are going to be something. The NBA, my Bucks, blasted the Bulls the other day, so hopefully they can take a 3-1 series. No Middleton for the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
But, a lot of people out here in LA are wondering where's basketball, but the Lakers are a dumpster fire. And, that's not going to get any better anytime soon. And the Clippers, what can we say? The excuse out here is no Kawhi Leonard for the year. And Paul George had COVID in that playing game. So a little bit out of shape out here in LA. They're thinking why we have to play a playing game. We would have been in the playoffs if we didn't have this crap that the NBA instituted. And we'd be playing the Phoenix Suns minus Booker now.
Yeah, good point. Mark, where can we catch you this week? What do we need to know before I let you go?
There's a lot of things. I'll be doing the Pirate Podcast tomorrow, live from Milwaukee, and then back again on Friday from Pittsburgh with the Padres in town. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff going on, along with all the other stuff that's part of in the XM series. We're off this week in Philadelphia, but back on, in a couple weeks here as we take a vacation. Other than that, yeah, I'm running this great show with you, man, the show that's sweeping the darn country.
Excellent. Listen, Mark, it's been a blast having you on as always. You have a great Sunday, and we'll catch you next week to see who the Steelers actually do pick, and we'll maybe dissect everybody they took.
Yes. God bless you, my friend. I love you.
Have a great Sunday, Mark. Thanks again.
You too.
Bye-bye. Well, how about that? I get him in my headset as I'm getting him out of here.
500. My point is that the three leading sectors.
What the hell did I just do now?
Performance thus far this year for
hold on, guys. You actually picked up the financial show from WGY that was on my phone as well. Oh my God, I had that on iHeartRadio earlier. So listen, guys, great show today. We talked about a lot of stuff. 10:56. We got a couple minutes left. If anybody's got any last thoughts they want to talk about, again, don't forget this weekend or this coming week, Wednesday night, college football huddle. We'll be diving back, head first into college football, and we'll talk about just as much as we need to there. Hopefully, you guys are hearing me. I'm not sure what's going on here. All kinds of problems. So anyway, we'll be on live with the college football huddle on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll certainly start diving into everything college football. Some of the offseason, more of the offseason stories, more of the stuff coming up. I'll get Larry Sorensen in, hopefully, if he's not too tied up with Wake Forest baseball, to talk a little bit about that. Or a little bit about Wake Forest football, I should say, and maybe some Wake Forest baseball, depending on how they're doing. And Thursday night, don't forget, we've got the NFL Draft Special right here on Northeast Streaming Sports, hosted by Mac and Jack from the Mac and Jack Show, co-hosted by myself and Robert Butler from the Sports Scopes, also on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. So, with that, guys, I'm going to say we're out of here. Hopefully, I've had some volume here the last half hour because I don't know what's going on, but it's been fun having you guys on. Lots to talk about. I had a lot of stuff to talk about that we didn't get to, but we will in coming weeks. There's just so much to talk about every Sunday morning, and I appreciate your guys' input. Kenny, Rick, Alan, Anthony Price, I think, might have been here for a little bit. Carlos, obviously. And anybody else that missing, I apologize. And all of you that will watch this throughout your groups, allow me to share. Everybody have a great Sunday. This is Keith Engel from TGI Sports Talk right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. We'll catch you Wednesday night with the college football.